Hey everybody, how y'all doing today? How are y'all doing today? Listen, mechanicals are enough to drive you insane. But aside from the insanity, you guys, I just want to thank you so much for joining me on Lady J Speaks on today. I missed last Sunday, of course, it was Father's Day. And so I hope you guys had an amazing Father's Day. We have such a great topic today. This is one that is so dear to my heart. So you guys make sure that you share, and make sure that you invite someone in so they can talk about this with you on today. So you guys, I want you to comment. Let's talk it out. Let's really work through this thing called confidence on today. And so I just want to talk to you from a very real place, which is within me. And I always, when I do my shows, I always like to make sure that it's a very real place and that it's not fabricated. So on today, I just want to talk to you from that very real place of when your confidence is in crisis. So if you guys can hear me, just heart it up, thumb it up, let me know, just say I, so I know that the sound is great. I just want to make sure these mechanicals are working on today. And so I just want to talk to you from that place. Have you ever felt like your confidence was in crisis? I can definitely relate because that's something I've been struggling with personally lately. And I've had a couple of conversations, and one just really, I can say, hard-hitting conversation that I had about the confidence being in crisis was the fact that it's just this place that's so shameful for most people. I remember asking it on my, hi Alice, I remember asking it on my platform, do you feel like your confidence is in crisis? And most people just hearted it up or liked it, but they didn't answer. So there were 2 people that answered on the post. And what I found out is that it's just a shameful place to be. It's not, when you talk about your confidence being in crisis, that's not something that people usually want to talk about, because it's so personal. It almost makes you feel like, you're already struggling with feeling good about yourself. Now you have to say now you have to face it. And that sometimes is just our biggest thing, having to face what we're feeling. So on today, we're going to talk about that. We're going to be able to face the confidence that is in crisis. And if you aren't in a crisis now, chances are it's going to come. It's going to happen. And that's just the real of life. Everyone deals with their confidence being at a different level. We're in such a different space in our society, in our world. And literally, confidence is going to be one of your most important assets. I am telling you now. what you believe in about yourself, what you take about yourself every single day is going to mean the world to you. That is going to be like your ammunition. You know, they're talking about being able to carry a gun. That's going to be your gun in this season. Being able to make sure that your confidence is optimal, that it's functioning as high as it can function, and that it is bulletproof, or mainly bulletproof from a lot of this craziness that we're seeing, a lot of this craziness that we're hearing and that we're experiencing. So I want you to sit back on today. Just get ready, settle in. Let's debunk this. Let's take it apart. Let's rip it apart, but let's discuss what's going on when your confidence is in crisis. So you guys, I'm going to do this real quick. I want to take a show of hands. How many people feel like within the last 90 days, you've had a real attack on your confidence? Let's go ahead and drop it in the comments. You feel like within the last 90 days that you've had a real attack on your confidence. And once again, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me. I see that you all tuned in, but is everyone good on the sound? Just let me know that. I want to make sure we're all good. Okay, and so we do have right here one comment I just want to go ahead and tune into. And Dominique Allen raises her hand and says, yes, within the last 90 days, there felt like there's been an attack on my confidence. You know, and women attack on women, you know, the attack that women have on confidence and the attack that men have on confidence is actually not so different. We honestly think as women, it's all, you know, our confidence is so much different. The areas that we get attacked in is so much different than men. But I'm telling you, it's not. Men deal with the same area of confidence conflict that we do, whether we look good enough, whether they look good enough, whether they're sounding right, whether they're smart enough, whether they are making enough money. I mean, there are so many things that play into it. So I would venture to say that now, in this season, since we're talking about truth, and since everybody is ready to be honest, listen, I say this, you know, we got to get out of this thing of self-lying. And I think with the pluses of the racism, there are no, hear me, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but what I'm saying, the exposure of racism, the exposure of other type of social injustices, all of those kinds of things are a way to strip us absolutely naked. We cannot be fake in this hour. We cannot act like one thing and say something else. This day, this hour, everyone is being held accountable for what they say, and if that lines up with how they live. Come on today. So we can't afford to be fake. So that's why I love the time that we are in, because it's going to challenge you and it's going to challenge me to be your most authentic selves. And you can't hide. So that's the reason why this confident piece is so important, because it's going to force us today in this discussion not to hide and to tell ourselves the truth while telling our friend the truth. You understand what I'm saying? So that's where we're going to be today. So this is how I want to start off. I want to talk about the word crisis. And Dominique, I thank you so much for being transparent. Is there anyone else that would say, within the last 90 days, you've had an attack on your confidence? Okay, if 90 days isn't, you know, the last 6 months, within the last year, within the last minute. Now listen, y'all, be honest, because if you're scrolling through Facebook and you're scrolling through Instagram, you have had an attack on your confidence within the last 90 days, okay? That should be everybody, me included, okay? The biggest thing I can tell you is that, you know, seeing these beautiful women, seeing the makeup, seeing the clothes, seeing the photos, it's enough to make you say, wow, am I being the best that I can be? And so that's my own personal quest right now. That's my own attack on my confidence, because I am doing something that the Bible explicitly talks about not to do. But most of us can't seem to get away from it, which is comparing ourselves to somebody else. We do it all the time. We're comparing ourselves to someone else. And I am telling you, sometimes it can be the freaking death of you. Okay? I'm telling you, me comparing myself to other people that do what I do, like talk shows and a lot of the poetry, has caused me sometimes not to even want to do this. Can I be transparent? Because usually what I'm doing in that comparison, I'm comparing off of what I think and not reality. So I'm here to tell you, one of the biggest things that we fight with, which is comparison, you guys, we have got to learn to get away from that. We can learn, we can be inspired, we can be motivated by what we see in other people, but comparing ourselves and making ourselves the deficit, or making ourselves the problem or the less than part of that, is so toxic. It's so toxic. It's one of those things that can, I am telling you, rip you apart from inside out. Like, it can send you from a smile to a frown in zero point 0.1 seconds. Okay. So it's something that we all struggle with. And like I said, that's been one of my biggest things lately, is making sure that I'm very careful about comparing myself to other people. And making sure that I'm not always, even in that comparison, I'm not putting myself on the side of the deficit, because that is one surefire way to put your confidence in a crisis. Okay. And so I want us to be able to, and I say this all the time on Lady J Speaks, I want us to be able to have conversations that mean something. You guys, anytime that I bring something to you, I want you to be able to eat from it. I want you to be able to get full from it. I want it to be good nourishment to you. And I want it to be something you want to share. Because the truth of the matter is that as hard as it is right now, wearing the mask, having to sanitize every 5 seconds, as hard as it is, the last thing we need to deal with is the question of, are you good enough? Because you are. Because you are. We don't need that crisis. We just don't need that crisis. So it's so important that we work on what's going on inside and what's going on mentally. We keep talking about mental health, and I am becoming a couples and family therapist, right? And so I understand the importance of mental health. One of our requirements is that we have to go to 10 therapeutic sessions while we're getting ready to intern. And I start my intern in the fall. And can I tell you, I need a therapist? Come on, somebody. The therapist needs a therapist, okay? It's just the reality of what it is. And this one part that I'm working on is some triggers that I didn't know that was there. And guess what? Those same triggers that are impacting my confidence. So that's the reason why this on today is such an important topic. So let's talk about crisis real quick, because I want y'all to understand when I say this, what I mean. I love this definitions because it adds so much richness to the conversation, because then you can know exactly what I'm talking about and you don't have to guess. It says crisis, the definition: a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. Would y'all say right now most of us are in a crisis? I mean, yeah, medical crisis. It's just crisis everywhere. Like everywhere, we can't get away from it. And if you're living in this world, some of that crisis is actually impacting our mental and our emotional health, right? And so we have to deal with the fact that we are in a time of intense difficulty. And some of us just have to accept it. There's a lot of people I know that are fighting against the grain of what's going on. And no, it's not pleasurable. No, it's not fun, but it's our reality. And one thing that my therapist tells me all the time is that, Jay, you got to accept it. So I'm telling you on today, I need you to accept the fact that right now is going to be an intense time of difficulty, trouble, or danger. It's going to be. That's what it is right now. Now, will that thing take you out or not? You get to choose. But just understand, we just have to accept where we are. That doesn't mean we have to agree with it. That doesn't mean that we have to sit in a place where we're just like, well, I guess there's nothing I can do. You're not powerless. You just have to accept that this is the temperament right now. And you have to be willing to ask yourself, well, God, What's my part to play in this? What can I do to make it better for someone else? Okay, so we understand that we're definitely in a crisis right now. And I was looking up the definition of confidence, and it's so crazy. Listen, definitions are amazing things. So let me tell you what this says. It says confidence, a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. And so, it just goes to show that when we don't appreciate who we are individually, this is where the crisis comes in. Listen, like I said, social media is just one of the things that tends to exemplify, it tends to magnify what's going on the inside. Social media just brought that out. But if we all be honest, we've been dealing with some insecurities. We've been dealing with the lack of seeing the quality in ourselves for a long time. Abilities, abilities, okay? Our own abilities and our own qualities have been in question a long time. We've been questioning that within ourselves. Why is that? Why is that? Because in order to figure out why you've been questioning yourself, why has your confidence hasn't been something that you've been willing to really be assured of, you have to look within to find that out. What is it that you feel like you're devoid of? What is it that you feel like you're missing? That's where that's coming in at. That's where this confidence piece right here that you're seeing becomes such a problem, because you lack appreciation for who you are. It's the same thing, like I said, it's a very real thing that I'm living out, that I have to really figure out, hey, why are you lacking appreciation for who you are and for what you bring into this world? It's so crazy because our gifts look the same, but they're not. They're as different as your fingerprint. I don't care if you're a singer. I don't care if you're a writer. It's as different as your fingerprint. So you guys, I'm just challenging you on today that through this talk, as we go further into my notes, that we really look in and figure out, when it comes to this definition of confidence, why do we tend to feel like we can't believe or trust or appreciate? And I love that word in this different definition, appreciate our own ability or quality. So you guys, I want you to put that on the grid. What has kept you from fully appreciating yourself? If we want to get our confidence out of a crisis, we're going to have to answer that. What has caused issues with us appreciating ourselves? Why is that so hard? And like I said again, why is it that anytime we compare ourselves to someone, we're automatically the one that's in the deficit? Why are we automatically not good enough? Or we seem to not say that isn't right. That's not what it should be. I'm not doing it right. That's stupid. Okay, I can do it better. Where's that coming from? Where's that coming from? So you guys, I'm going to take a break real quick. I want you to come back. I want you to just wait for me and just sit right there. You guys, listen, we're going to dive deeper into this as we go through my notes and talk about our confidence being in crisis. Okay? So I want you to share. I want you to tag somebody in so that they can get what you are getting right now. And I'll be right back in less than a minute. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for sitting with me. Did you remember to go ahead and invite someone? Remember to go ahead and share the broadcast. And let's finish talking about our confidence being in crisis. So this is one of the things that I really wanted to go over. I know I kind of spoke about our confidence being in crisis, and one of the things that causes that is us comparing ourselves and automatically making ourselves the deficit, right? We just have a tendency to do that when it comes to comparison. We just have a tendency to, put ourselves below as opposed to using comparison in a positive way. And so that's just something that we have to really work on, and everybody does it. So comparison is one of the things that really affects us in our confidence and us being assured in who we are and what like we bring to the table. The lack of affirmation is something else. Listen, I watched this show on Netflix called Bloodline. And I am telling you, I have seen the devastation of a lack of affirmation in real time. Like, this show is the epitome, this storyline, when you do not get affirmed for the person that you are, when you do not get loved for who you are, when someone doesn't tell you that your skills and that your being is good enough, when you don't have anyone around you feeding positive nourishment into your soul, into your being, into your mind, into your emotions, it can be absolutely devastating. And this show, Bloodline, shows that in like the realest way to me. So I am just so extra careful to make sure that anytime that I can affirm, anytime that I can go in and really put that seed of encouragement and inspiration and motivation into someone, that I do it. Our confidence is no different. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to build it. We have to build this thing, which is ourselves. We can't just talk about building businesses and building buildings and then forget to build who we are. Yourself, you, me, right? We need that nourishment. So we have to be careful that we do not forget, we do not put aside our confidence, that we do not put aside that self-love, that we do not put aside that self-recognition. And let me say something, I haven't said this in a while, but I want to bring this home because God is bringing this to my remembrance now. Listen, I need you to be able to trust yourself. Do you hear me on today? You know how we often get really skittish when someone we talk to is a liar, so we can never trust what they say. And so when they say something, you just kind of like, okay, got it. And you take it with a grain of salt. If you do not begin to tell yourself the truth, when you speak love, when you speak acceptance, when you speak joy, when you speak motivation, when you speak inspiration, if you do not begin to tell yourself the truth, you're going to build a relationship with yourself where you do not trust what's coming out your own mouth. You do not want that. A lot of us are in a crisis because we can't keep our own word to us. And for some reason, we haven't thought that's been important. We haven't put enough emphasis on being honest with ourselves. And so what ends up happening is that we can put out these wonderful words of affirmation to other people and really mean it. I mean, say it with all the confidence in the world. Girl, you beautiful. Oh, that's a nice jacket. Those are beautiful shoes. But when it comes to really building that up within us, we don't trust our own word because we haven't built a relationship of trust within us. Listen, before you trust anybody else's word that you're amazing, you got to trust your own word that you're amazing. That's something we have to do. And I think that because we haven't built that relationship and we haven't taken the time to say, hey, who am I? What am I really doing? Is this a good way of feeding positivity into my own mind, my own heart, my own spirit? Since we haven't done that, it's just caused so much chaos and we're waiting for other people to do it. So that lack of affirmation is huge. And like, again, I'm going to emphasize this, not just affirmation from other people, but affirmation from yourself. And are you building a relationship within yourself to be able to trust what you say? What you think about you matters. But you can't neglect that relationship. You can't neglect to really encourage yourself. Have you ever thought about what it would be like if you were your biggest fan? Not someone else, but you. How many of you struggle with that? Let's put that on the grid. How many of us struggle with sometimes being our own biggest fan? Not in a vanitous way, not in a vanitous way, but in a way that's so super healthy, that's so super nourishing, that is so embracing and comforting, that when life tends to hit us hard, we don't automatically go to depression, and we don't automatically go to suicidal ideations. We don't automatically go to anger and frustration with ourselves, with our circumstances, with our life, but we really have thought about being our biggest fan. How many of you struggle with that? Because if that's a struggle, that is one surefire way to know if your confidence is in crisis. If you can't say you're your biggest fan, there's a problem. And I can honestly say that is something I'm trying. That's something I'm having a problem with. Because my husband, I know, is a fan of Lady J, but sometimes I don't know if I am. Come on, it's just the real of what it is. And so that's why I knew I had to do this show and talk about the confidence being in crisis, because people can see this one persona and they see these things and they see hair and they see nails and they see makeup and they automatically think that because you're pretty, you smell good. You know, and that's not necessarily the case. You could be pretty and not a babe, okay? You could be pretty and not putting any deodorant on, okay? It's just the truth of the matter. Beauty doesn't have anything to do with health. It really doesn't. So it's one thing that I really want to drive home, that we have to sometimes stop the beauty on the outside and really focus on that joy on the inside, so that we can be more efficient in our lives and for the people that we live for, right? Mainly ourselves, right? So we have to give that the attention that is due. What causes crisis in our confidence? Not just a lack of affirmation, not just comparison in the negative, continuous failures and mistakes. Y'all, I can't tell y'all how frustrating it is as an indie artist sometimes to try to figure out this formula, you know, of of this formula of success, and trying to really get a different message out of there. So we talked about, failure and mistakes. That's right. Yes, let's go to that one. You're right. Continuous failures and mistakes. That's such a huge one. It's a huge one, you guys, because a lot of the time what ends up happening is that we feel like there's just no way we can ever achieve it. And when you get tired of failing and continuously failing all the time, that gets tiring. Take it from a chick who's been doing this a minute. Not 10 years, but a minute. And I'm telling you, sometimes when you're not getting the results that you want, that feels like failure. And sometimes I have to have people tell me, hey, just in the fact that you're doing something, that means that you're achieving more than you can ever imagine. But because you don't see it in numbers, and because you don't see it in recognition, sometimes you feel like you failed. So we also, this continuous failure of mistakes rocks our confidence, but sometimes we have to have help in seeing it the right way. Because sometimes what we see as continuous failures and mistakes is really learning. They're learning lessons. They're helping tools. So it's just really hard. It's so hard. That's the reason why we got to be able to see this thing the right way. And I would venture to say that if there was more self-love in it for me, and I'm just saying this as a therapist, I'm learning, you guys, I'm learning. If there's more self-love, if there's more self-grace, come on, if we gave ourselves a little bit more grace, we wouldn't fight, we wouldn't feel like there's such a battle with our confidence. We just wouldn't feel that way. And so I think that because we don't have those foundational things in place, it just kind of, we lose it a little bit and we kind of get a little bit distracted. So it is something that we have to really key in on and make sure that we're making sure that it stays important, right? So continuous failures and mistakes, that's just difficult to deal with. Then we deal with rejection. That's something else that causes our confidence to be in crisis when we don't feel like we're being accepted. And I talked about that earlier, not feeling like, hey, that person or those people, or I'm not good enough to belong, and I face that too. I face it singularly, and I face it in a plural sense with me and my husband. There's so much, that rejection piece is huge because it makes you think like, hey, am I alien? Right? Am I from outer space? Right? What is the reason why I don't seem to be getting the response from people that I want to get? So we have to remember, you guys, that rejection piece is like such a major thing that affects our confidence. And in order to deal with that confidence piece and making sure that rejection doesn't impact us, we have to learn to accept ourselves. So I don't know if you could tell by now, but this message is all about loving you. If there's a confidence in your crisis, there is a lack of relationship. I mean, genuine relationship within yourself. That's where that confidence piece comes from. That's why the definition talks about self-assurance. It's believing in you. And when there's a crack in that foundation of self-assurance and self-acceptance, then our confidence is in crisis. You may not notice it right now. You may just have a little crack. Your crack may not be as big as mine. But I'm telling you right now, if there's any place in you that has weakened in your self-belief, in your self-love, in your self-reliance, your ability to champion yourself to the next level, there's a crack in your foundation when it comes to your confidence. And so we really have to figure out what's going on. Learn to believe in you. Love yourself. We can't say that enough. It sounds so cliche, but it's the realest thing that I can tell you, because that relationship with you means everything. It means everything. And I don't try to have relationships with other people before I try to really have a great relationship with me. And that is something that I'm working on. Do I really think I'm just not in comparison, but do I really think that I'm a beautiful person? Do I really think that I have what it takes? Do I really think that I'm able to go to the next level? Do I think that about myself? Again, not in a way of vanity, but in a way of inspiration and motivation. Do I see the value in me? So that is my question to you. Do you see the value in you? Do you appreciate you? Not anyone else, but you. And I always say, when it's time to have these kind of conversations, it gets so serious and people are just kind of like, I don't know if I want to talk about that. But confrontation is so necessary if we're going to be in a healthy place. And you guys, confrontation doesn't always have to be so scary. It's courageous when you can sit in front of yourself in a mirror. Criticism. How often are you telling yourself stuff that's not positive? And why is that your go-to? Like, we have to figure out, why is that our go-to? Criticism. Why are we so critical? Somebody asked me, why are you so hard on yourself? And I'm like, because that's just how I'm used to being. Like, I don't get the grace that everybody else gets. But that's not true. I just haven't extended the kind of grace to myself that I've extended to other people. You got to be careful when you allow other people in your life to make 100 mistakes. But when you make one mistake, you demolish you. You've got to be so careful of that. You've got to be mindful of that. Because that is one thing, again, that will rip and eat away at your confidence little by little, until literally, you guys, mentally you have nothing. You have nothing good to say about you. You have nothing good to give to you. You got to be so careful. It's a spirit. I talk about it in my poetry. It's a spirit of self-sabotage. I know everyone's faith level is different. Everyone believes different religiously. For me, I truly believe that that spirit is a sign from the devil. Let me tell you, and it is a spirit called self-sabotage. And criticism is its biggest ally because it loves to come in and rock the foundation of your confidence and your self-worth and what you think about your value. And what it does is it tells you you're just not cutting it. Why can't you be like her? Why can't you be like him? Why can't you do it better? It's that spirit in which you can't ever pat yourself on the back or give yourself a hug, right? So it's that self-sabotaging spirit. And that spirit of criticism, you've got to be so careful of making sure that your thoughts about you, and I'm talking about your secret thoughts, because we don't often talk about what we say about ourselves. So those thoughts are normally secretive, okay? What your secret thoughts are truly saying about you. That's something that you have to make sure that you are monitoring and that you are keeping track of so that it doesn't tear away and rip out the inside of who you are and begin to kill the best parts of you. Don't kill the most beautiful parts of you. I'm writing this book called Death of My Inner Beauty. And one of the gists of the book is that sometimes we go through life and the best parts of us die. They get killed because guess what? We haven't protected them. We haven't protected them. So you got to be really careful with criticism and criticizing yourself, and even the criticism that you get from other people. Understand that the criticism that you're getting from people, when it's not productive criticism, it's not always met with a total reality. It's not always met with all the cards on the table. You got to realize they don't know everything about you. And sometimes people don't know the why. So they just criticize the behavior and they don't know the why. So sometimes you just got to give that comment grace to make it and let it land. Pick from it what you need and leave the rest in the garbage. Okay? You don't have to accept everything that comes to you. You can leave the rest in the garbage. It's so true. And one of the last things that I'm going to talk about is no support. No support. No support. That's another thing that rocks our confidence. Yes, is no support. Okay? And it's supposed to be a you there. So the you is missing. That's okay. But it's you and me. There's no support, you guys. And so we have to get to that point to where the support has to be there. Corrected just like that. I love it. And so when we don't have that support, you guys, it's difficult. It's so difficult. And our confidence can be quaked because we feel like no one else sees the value. And that no support and the fact that it impacts our confidence so much is about not getting validated. That's really the bottom line of that, not getting validated. And so we have to build ourselves up in such a way that we realize that validation is great. It's a good thing. Being validated is a great thing. But you've got to validate you first. You've got to see that what you have is worth giving. It's worth presenting. You're worth existing on this earth right now at this time. I don't want you to get to a place to where you're having to fabricate why you think you were created. That's a horrible place to be, and it's a hard place to be. So you guys, I want you to really tap in today to this message about why our confidence gets in crisis. I want you to really tap in to the things that we can do to fix it. Where I say, start with a genuine relationship with yourself. Number 2, make sure that that relationship is built on truth. Really begin to tell yourself the truth. And guess what? If it's something to be fixed, say it in a gentle way. Remember, you are somebody, and how you talk to you, how you think about you matters. It's not just when we put it out, it's when we put it within. And we've got to begin to realize that. So we're not just walking around here as people that can compliment and uplift everyone, that can't stand ourselves once we go to bed at night. That can't continue to happen. And so that's one thing that I champion and something that I'm really big about when it comes to people, because I'm telling you, when you deal with an issue within your life, if you really be honest about it, some of it comes from not being sure about you, not being sure about something you're doing, something that's happening. And I need for us to be a lot more sure so that our confidence isn't constantly being attacked and it isn't constantly being ripped down, right? So we have those 2 pointers. And then also, guess what? Realizing that we got to support ourselves in a very genuine way. That means showing up for your own life, showing up for your own self, right? And somebody just needs to type on the grid, I'm going to show up for me. Don't just show up for someone else so they can be a good friend. Come on, we often do things outwardly, but we don't do them inwardly. So just, really begin to show up for you. That's it. Show up for you. If you want somebody else to be on time for an event or your event, be on time for your own event. Come on, show up for you. And I keep telling you, what you want outwardly has to be poured inwardly, right? So we know that. So show up for you. Show up for everything that you have to offer. Show up for your gifts. Show up for your talents. Show up for the times that you need a hug, the time that you need to be complimented, the time that you need to be encouraged, motivated, inspired, all of that. Show up for you in a genuine way, right? So that has to happen. So you guys, I want you to have an amazing rest of your weekend, but I want to leave you with this. Your self-love can only truly happen if you cultivate it. It's something you gotta work on, and you can't just leave it to someone else. You can't just wait for the next compliment. You can't wait for the next time that you feel like someone's gonna validate you. Those things are great from the outside, but you've got to begin to build that arsenal from the inside. So then that way, it gives you more of a leg to stand on. And then when you receive the confirmation and you receive the affirmation and the love and the validation from outside, you guys, then that just makes the cake sweeter, right? But it's not the only thing. So I need for you guys to really tap into who you are and really give it 100%. You guys, right now, you see www.thewholeblack.you.com. It is a blog that I've written. I want you guys to tune into that blog. Go there, subscribe, and share the blog. It's about the Black community, being an African-American woman, and what our community is going through right now. It talks a lot about how you can show up. See, that's a theme that I talk about throughout. It's how we can show up better in our Black community. Not just throwing money at our problems, not just throwing other things, material things, but really putting ourselves, investing ourselves in our community in a very authentic and genuine way. So that is a mantra that I preach throughout my life, period, because I believe that once you can do that, that allows you to show up stronger. It allows you to show up more stable and more sure-footed, which also means stable, but just that different kind of, stability where you're really just, I'm ready and I'm present and I'm accounted for and I'm clear-headed and I'm level-headed, right? And I'm showing up. So check out thewholeblack.you.com. You guys, I also want you to check out my other book, my first book that I wrote called Hope Exposed. That is available on Amazon.com. You can check that out. It's called Hope Exposed. It talks about the commodity, the real currency that hope is, and how God intended us to use it. So it's an amazing book. It's really, really good. It has a journal at the end of each chapter, so you can be able to check that out. I believe in journaling. I'm a therapist, right? I believe in journaling. And so it's just a real big thing to me that you have an opportunity to read and then reflect. Read and then reflect. And then I have my second book that I just released called It's Okay to Be a Good Girl. It's Okay to Be a Good Girl. Listen, I love this book. One of the chapters that I get a lot of feedback on is good sex versus God. So you guys check this out. It's available on Amazon as well as my website. So you guys check that out. Also go to my website at ladyjtmp.com. Check out my debut album, which is called Brain Box of a Poetic Prophet. And so you can hear that piece, Self-Sabotage, and why this particular topic, confidence being in crisis, is such a huge thing for me. It means so much to me. You'll be able to go to ladyjtmp.com and download a free download, Bleed, which talks about the poetic cry for injustice. And so that is on there as well. So you guys check those things out. Share. That download is free. And then, of course, for the actual album, The Brain Box of a Poetic Prophet, that is for sale on my website. So you guys, I always tell you, champion you to support indie artists. We work hard for it. The content is all original. The music is original. So it's some different concepts on there. So you guys, I invite you to step into my world and really become a part of me. It's just a very dear work. And I know that you will enjoy it. Everyone that has the album really enjoys it. So you guys, I am going to be here next Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Lady J Speaks, divulging something else, taking another part of myself away so that I can welcome you into my heart and in my mind and really begin to work this thing out, becoming a woman, being a Black woman, being a professional, and just being a person in general, being a human, right? So there's so much to work out. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week. Mwah! Love yourself.